For my project, I decided to watch Mi Familia. Mi Familia was awesome for me to watch because it really gave me perspective of what some Mexican Americans' life were like here in Los Angeles in the United States. Initially, the first slide I'm going to go through, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've learned in the class and how this video pertains to things that I've learned. So on the first slide, you can see that Maria, the mother, at the time was living in Los Angeles and actually was deported back to Mexico. And the initial thing that sparked my reaction to this was the illegal versus undocumented issue that we had in class. It was really interesting for me to think about that and see how people view others just with words that we use to describe them. So, for example, illegal. She was viewed as an illegal alien and was absolutely shit back as if she was like a menace to society or something along those lines. The next just kind of shows to what a lot of Mexican American families have to do to be able to get to the United States, which is a lot of sacrifice. Here's a picture of Maria and Carlitos, and it just shows a little bit of the sacrifice that Maria had to give to come to the United States again. The next slide here is, I also think, is a great representation. When they're all reunited for the wedding, the oldest daughter, Irene, is getting married, and although the father doesn't have much, he wants to bring all of his family together. It could be a broken family, whether they're broken or unbroken. I think a big thing of Mexican Americans is family, and whether it be cousins, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, brothers, sisters. It was portrayed very well in this film of how happy their families are no matter the circumstances. Moving on, it shows a little bit of Jimmy's life. And when I saw this, his older brother Chucho dies, and Chucho is kind of his idol. And what sparked my reaction was the reading of The Black or the Berry. Now, this reading talked a little bit more about how people within the same race will make fun of each other or have problems or say mean things to another because one is lighter skinned, because one is of a different group than they are. Even though they are of the same race, they have conflictions and problems with each other. And this was a little bit of a similar story where Chucho was in a gang and he ended up fighting against another Mexican gang, where both these Mexican American gangs ended up fighting against each other. It wasn't Mexican American versus Caucasian from the United States. It was interracial. And so that's kind of what sparked my ideas there. Moving on to the next slide, I think this was a great representation. One of the sisters, who was a nun, ended up getting married to a white Caucasian male obviously from the United States, who was a priest at the time. And the reading that I was thinking about during this was the cultural hybridity piece by Canclini. And just the mixing of races and how people view others. It was very difficult for this couple initially to get married, and they had to jump through a lot of hoops. But clearly it was worth it, and this cultural hybridity will bring, I think, more of a connection to others because they are able to combine. The next two images that I want to show is the first of the family gathering, where there's problems and they're in there consulting with, Jimmy just recently forcing kind of a marriage and ended up having a kid. As you can see in the next one, Jimmy's wife is playing in the background and she's pregnant, and these two women are in here, and there's a lot of judgment going on. And what's interesting to see is the perception that people have. The typical perception with the lady in the green on the right is kind of hounding her and saying, hey, she's a Mexican American, you shouldn't love her like this. And the one on the left is saying, no, I have love for everybody, she's an awesome individual. And I think that's what leads us in here to the next piece, which is from our week 4 reading, and it just says, who's the illegal, with kind of the fake Uncle Sam pointing. And I think that goes a lot with what Mexican Americans have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. They have to jump through a lot of hoops just because of their race and for really no other reason. The last slide that I wanted to bring up was Memo and him bringing his wife's family to meet his family. And what's interesting is they just don't understand how the Mexican-American culture is and the difficulties that his family had to go through to get to that point. And they're very judgmental. Long story short, this video has really changed my perspective on how I view people. I think of how they originate, where they originated from, how they got here, and it really opened my eyes to a different understanding and perspective of what Mexican-American culture is like. And I really learned a lot through this class and tying it into this video.